Season 3 of the Amani Experience podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is the award-winning Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, author, and undercover gamer. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who have gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to the Amani Experience podcast.
We would like to welcome Joshua Gillow to the Amani Experience podcast. How are we doing?
Fantastic, Amani. Thanks for having me on.
We are excited to have you on today. We always do a geographical check-in, so tell the viewers and listeners, where are you right now?
Yes, I'm in Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. So it's a little town west of New York by about an hour and a half and north of Philadelphia by about an hour and a half in the beautiful Pocono Mountains.
Yes, in the Pocono Mountains. Well done. And where did you grow up? Same place?
About 30 minutes south in a little town called Easton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yep.
And the first question, I have two early questions for you that'll make you laugh. The first one is, where did you get your love of plants from?
That has to be from my mother. Yeah, she started the garden center when I was 5, so I grew up raising plants and selling and all that wonderful stuff. So I blame her for all of that.
Continuing with that, from your mom, I understand you grew up selling sweet corn and tiger lilies as a youth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I was about 5 years old, my mother started the garden center. I decided I wanted to start collecting rocks from the nearby fields, and I started finding really cool ones. So I'd take my little red wagon out and collect them, and then bring them up to the register, and I'd try to sell them to the clients for a couple of pennies, and some of them I gave away. And then I said, wow, wait a minute here. There's something here. So I went along the roads where we lived, and there's wild tiger lilies growing. And I said, I wonder if I potted those up. I wonder if I could sell them. So I was selling them for $1. And I was like, damn, I'm into something here. So each year my parents would raise, a couple of acres of corn, sweet corn, and we'd sit at the end of the road and we would sell it. And that was another thing that, just became part of who you were. It's just what you did. And it was a ton of fun. And I really cherish those memories because they really set a foundation for where I am now.
Absolutely. You were very enterprising at a young age.
Yeah, I guess it was meant to be, right?
Definitely. And now you're in a space that's really interesting to me. How would you summarize yourself, where you are today, in 30 seconds or less?
Yeah, so as far as just personally, my goal in life is to, live life with passion and gratitude and share as many beautiful experiences as I possibly can with my family and friends, and live with no regrets. Right. So that's like my platform. That's where I start from. So in that, growing through and evolving into this person, I've started businesses with family and on my own now. And I have 2 businesses running with, on my own side here. So it's been fun. I see my kids now, they're 8 and 10 and actually, no, sorry, 10 and 12. I got to keep my butt for that. 10 and 12 now. And they've started businesses, and it's so much fun. My wife's independent. She's a chiropractor, so she owns her own practice. So it's just part of who we are. So it's really fun. It's for me, it's not about me, it's about we. So it's a matter of trying to, as I grow, to help others, bring them up with me, as I'm learning things I want to share so they can grow faster. Right. So that's the fun part.
How do you keep your perspective and mindset when you enter into and go through some tough times?
Yeah. So mindset is huge. Huge. Every day I work on my mindset. So I have a funny ritual that I do. I think some people would think it's funny if they watch it. For me, it's profound. But each morning when I get up and I get my day started, I go down into my office space and I actually dance and I yell. Some of that Tony Robbins, bring the energy to the top, get jazzed up. You can't be sad while you're shaking your ass. You just can't do it. It's not possible, right? So it snaps me right into state. And I've been doing it long enough now that it just becomes something that snaps me in. And then I do a meditation session. And also then I actually sing a bit and then I run. So that's how I keep myself in a prime mindset and a solid state so that I can then perform and give and be the best I can possibly be every day.
All right. I like that. Is there a specific song that you always dance to, or it's different every day?
It is. It's a little clip that I found on YouTube. I could share it at some point here if you want.
Okay.
But
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it jazzes me up. It's a clip that just gets me going, and then I make my move. For all you Tony people out there, make my move, and it just ignites my entire body. Like I am ready for anything. Yeah. So that's my morning practice in order to get going for the day. And at that point, nothing can stop me. So it's awesome.
I like it. I like it. You mentioned Tony Robbins. Yeah. I understand you went to see him, I believe, when he was in Chicago, and that's how you met Dwayne Drawn in person, correct?
Actually, no. No, you're right. I did meet him for the first time in person there. Mm-hmm. Then I went to UPW there and really was completely rocked to my core. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is incredible. So yeah, that was my first full experience with Tony Robbins. Yeah.
Excellent. And Dwayne shared with me and with us how you changed his life just by taking him to that event and just kind of being a mentor and a guide to him. What inspired you to kind of share your wisdom, expertise, time, energy, and money with Dwayne?
So, there's certain things about life when you just know something, right? You meet somebody, and at that point, we haven't even really, quote, met yet. But when I first started that conversation, we have similar interests in the outdoor living, design build field. There was just something about that man's soul that spoke to me, right? Mm-hmm. So I went and I met him, and then after going through UPW, I was thinking, I made a pact to myself at that point that I'm going to send some people in my life that I think would really value this kind of experience, right? And he was one of the people that was on top of my list. I think, you know what? Dwayne is an incredible human being. I think that he would find value here, and I hope that he comes and just finds some value. That was all, right? Mm-hmm. And to hear his story and to see him on your podcast, yeah. Also just to know him as a man has been a true inspiration and blessing to me. I had the privilege of having him in my life, so he's been really cool.
Yeah, we had a great talk on the podcast. He was very vulnerable. I really respect him. So, and he speaks very highly of you, and which leads me to my next question. What does "fuck the governor" mean?
Good. So you allowed me to swear here. I like this.
Yes.
So, have you read the book "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins?
Not. It's on my list to listen to. I have it on my Audible. It's on my list to listen to.
Audible's the best way because they do some intermissions between the chapters, and you can really get a good sense of what they're trying to get at. But "Fuck the Governor" is about this concept that in your mind, imagine, let me back up a little bit. In the engine of a car or most motors on whatever, right? There's a certain mechanism built into it that at a certain point, certain RPM, that it stops the progression. Like you can't go too far to burn it out. So it's a governor, it's called. And we all have those in our minds, right? We have this concept where we can only go so far, and once it hurts, we have to stop, or once I get tired, we have to stop. So he suggests that you say in your mind, "Fuck the governor," right? Just forget it, because that's when you finally break through that wall and you're ready to move through it, and you can see what you were truly designed to do, right? How much more you can do and how much more you can achieve once you break that barrier in your own mind. Mm-hmm. So that's what "fuck the governor" means. So there's often times when I'm running or I'm doing ninja or whatever, and there's a point where it's just painful, or I'm sick and tired of it, or I'd want to walk. Right. I would yell out loud, "Fuck the governor," and I just keep going.
That's great.
You're like, damn, look, I did it.
Yes, great story. And I'll follow up with you once I finish listening to Goggins' book, because it's high on my list as well.
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah, no doubt. In your opinion, what's important for creative professionals such as yourself, myself, to succeed in today's business environment?
Yeah, so creative professionals, I've been one most of my life, the last 24 years, right? So with that being the case, the one thing that brings you through all storms, all kinds of anything that comes at you, is having a strong why. Mm-hmm. Having a reason why you're willing to push through the shit, or you're willing to push through when everything looks like all the cards are down, everything's breaking, nothing's working, it's raining constantly, whatever it might be, that you can still see light at the end of the tunnel. You still have a big enough fire within you to move forward. So it's the why. That's the big piece, right? Also constantly adapting to this concept of the 2 millimeters or the Kanai principle. Again, some of Tony's teachings, they talk about how do you grow each day, right? Because as humans, we want growth. It doesn't have to be financial. It just has to be success and fulfillment comes from growth, always just getting a little bit better at something. And as soon as you stagnate, plateau, or drop off, you start feeling this anxiety of I'm not good enough anymore. So as long as you're growing just 2 millimeters a day, something small, it helps you grow. So keeping that mindset of each day trying to make what you do just a little bit better. And then you always feel like you're progressing forward, right? Progress is important. Yeah. And curiosity and confidence, like just constantly being curious, like, hey, we did it like that before, but what if we did it this way?
Right.
And learn it. Just having the confidence to power through it. And if it doesn't work, well, throw the fuck out and grab something new, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're going to figure it out faster if you try it and fail than you will by never making a decision and having 1,000 decisions that aren't made. So.
All right. Great mind and great philosophy. Shout out to Nathan Garrison, who's tuning in, watching the show. Thank you. If you're tuning in and have a question for Josh, just put it in the chat. We'd add it to our list of questions. Next, I want to ask you, you mentioned that you've been a creator for more than 20 years. What do you feel was the turning point in your career? Like when you realized this is what I'm here to do and I'm all in.
Yeah. So when I first got out of architecture school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I grew up in the garden center, all that kind of stuff. I didn't really have a direction. Some people think I just always had it figured out. I don't, right? So I didn't at that time. And I, for 15 years, worked with a family business and kind of knew what I wanted to do, but then started to focus myself about 8 years ago. And what I learned during that process is that when you take your shoulds and make them musts, things happen. Mm-hmm. So I was horrible at setting goals because every year around the first of the year, like everybody's told, right, set your goals for next year. And I'd say, okay, I'd write a couple goals down. I'd be like, yeah, good chance of those happening. And off I went because I did the steps, but I never put the power behind it. So having that focus of saying, look, I'm going to make less goals for the year, but making them musts, putting timelines to them, and then working my ass off to get to that point. And once they go from shoulds to musts, deal is done. It's finished, it's ready to go. That's
exactly. Why do you feel people struggle with making their shoulds musts?
Commitment. Amani, there's this thing about, and I've learned throughout my life about, it's not the decisions or the commitments you make to others that make you who you are. It's the commitments and decisions you make for yourself that you stick with and see through that give you the confidence and that self-assuredness to move forward. And to break through any wall. It's when you start lying to yourself and telling yourself bullshit. You know it, right? You know flat out you're not going to do A, B, or C. So why even say it? So it's keeping those promises that you make to yourself. Once you do that, your confidence is going to shoot through the roof because now there's no discussion. There's no discussion. It's done.
Yeah. Continuing with the theme of commitment, what is your why?
My why is, to be honest with you, Amani, I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered when I'm dead for adding massive value to people's lives, whatever that is. I want to leave a room better than when I walked in. I want to help people become the best versions of themselves. So I train like crazy. I run, I do all these things, and I'm working business, growing business because I know that I can influence and impact more and more people's lives. It's a bigger stage for all of that. So that's my why. It's just I want to be remembered as somebody who truly helped humanity become better.
I definitely think you're well on your way to being remembered. So keep doing the good work. Well done. You're very busy. You have a lot of commitments. You spend a lot of time doing different things. How do you keep your creative cup full? Because I found personally, and what I've witnessed with other people, that when you get the burnout, it can stop some people in their tracks and they can't move for weeks, months, years. How do you prevent yourself from, having your creative cup run empty?
So I would say the number one way to do that is, well, two things. The number one way is exercise. You got to move, right? Most of the creatives are behind a desk. I'm behind a desk or behind a wheel driving the projects or whatever, right? And if you get into that more sedentary type of lifestyle, and I'm guilty as hell of this. This is how I found my path, is through finding that I'm just getting sick and tired. Mid-30s, realize I'm not doing well, right? Like physically, mentally, business is good and all that stuff, but I wasn't happy up here. I wasn't fulfilled, right? And so I realized that I needed to do something. So that's when Ninja jumps in my life. But now I'm out running, every morning before I sit down at my desk. I take cold showers after my run. It's not because I like either one. I actually hate and despise both of them. I've set that goal for myself. And if I want to grow, I need to do things that I don't want to do just to prove that I will do them. And then that little monkey mind in the back and a little voice in the back of your head, you just tell them, shut up. We're going in, right? You gotta keep complaining. We're going to keep running. It's an amazing thing once you start controlling that and realizing you have control over that.
Right. Why do you love what you do?
I love what I do because I get to empower people to live their best lives, right? Through outdoor living, we get to create incredible spaces that aren't just pools, decks, and patios, right? There's nothing more that fills my heart more than seeing a client post on social media a picture of their children in the backyard that we created, and it's the backdrop of the entire space, right? Or the entire picture. So yeah, it's the child or the family having a great time, breaking bread, jumping in the pool, whatever. But my heart sings when I see our ideas as the backdrop to that. Like that birthday party wouldn't be the same without what we did there. And so that's really what lights me up, and empowering others to live their best lives. And I do that with Yes Express as well, where I can, take our landscape professionals and teach them how to do how to help people and serve people at a higher level while preserving their time, right? So they can see the light and they're like, holy crap, look at this. I can actually do more with less time. So again, it's just empowering people to live their best lives.
Yeah. On the flip side, what is something that scares you?
So it's actually a good question. So this is my philosophy on this. Most people think, you know what? I'm just going to wait till tomorrow to do something. I'm just going to put that on the list for tomorrow, and that's that, right? But do you realize that the average American lives 78.5 years, right? That's 28,689 days. Put that in perspective, right? I'm 42 and a half. That gives me about 13,140 days left on average, statistically. I hope I live a lot longer than that, right?
Yes, as do I, yes.
When you start thinking about numbers like that and you realize I got about 13,000 days left and I'm well over the halfway point, right? You start thinking, holy shit, time is precious. So we better be focusing on what is important, right? My goal is to be able to climb mountains when I'm 80. And I know that I can't wait until I'm 79 and a half to start training for that or working for that. That's something I've got to have. It's a lifestyle for the whole life, right? Yes. But to get back to answer your question directly, my biggest fear or thing that scares me is that I won't discover my true potential in my lifetime. That I won't be able to fully discover how much I could have given back to humanity because I didn't go hard enough, or I didn't just open my mind enough, or I wasn't willing to be uncomfortable. That's my biggest fear.
And what are you doing to ensure that you're always working towards discovering your true potential?
2 millimeters a day. 2 millimeters with a Kanai principle, right? Constant and never-ending improvement. It's that constant movement and physically moving and running and all those things, and constantly becoming more comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where all the good stuff is, right? All the fruit is at the end of the branches. It's not at the trunk where it's easy to climb, right? It's where you got to take that chance and go to the edge. That's where all the good stuff is. So being able to do that, and that's really what's made it possible.
The Kanai principle reminds me of kind of the Chinese bamboo tree, where you plant it and then you keep watering it and it doesn't grow for 5 years. And then once it starts to grow, within like 6 weeks, it grows to be 60 feet tall. And so that's kind of how I look at the Kanai principle. How do you look at it, and what's your definition?
Yeah, so it's really a matter of understanding that each day has to be a little bit better than the day before. And what I mean by that is that each day you grow a little bit. So if yesterday you knew X plus 2 is what you need the next day, right? Mm-hmm. Mindset of always being curious, always thinking, what is next? Not that you aren't present. It's not about always future pacing or any of those kinds of things. It's understanding that the future is what you grow to be today will be how much further you go tomorrow, right? So that's really the interesting part. But the 2 millimeters a day, that principle, it just keeps you moving forward, because progress is what we want. Growth is what we want as humans in all ports, whether it's spirituality, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, whether it's anything. We just want to see progress. And if you just do it a little at a time, not gigantic pieces, but little at a time, it adds up. It accumulates like compounding interest. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, like you save a penny a day. What's the exercise where you save a penny a day and then it multiplies and multiplies?
Yep.
Very similar.
Yeah.
How do you manage anxiety and worry? Because many people, including myself, struggle with worrying that they're running out of time or they missed their chance and kind of things like that. How do you manage that, and how do you advise people to get over that?
I learned something in my mid-30s that has changed my life. And I mean, I've always kind of been part of this. I've never been a truly religious man. I grew up Lutheran, but I never was a real churchgoer or anything like that. I always believed in a God and believed in those kinds of things. But it's believing that when you do the right thing, that the right thing will always come back. It will always, be full circle. So just living in that kind of karmic state where you do unto others as you want them to do to you. You can sleep well at night. You do the right thing, even if it costs you money. It doesn't matter. Do the right thing. And then you don't have to worry about what's around the next corner. What's this one going to say about you? All that disappears. It evaporates in a heartbeat. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. That's it.
Yeah. Simple yet effective.
Yeah. So simple. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
Yes. The industry that you're in, whether it be like the outdoor living design space, is very crowded. How do you rise above all the noise and distinguish yourself from the competition?
Yeah, so I always like to think that, or I always like to say that we don't have competition. This is something that Dwayne likes to say too, and he's right with it, right?
Yes.
It's my only competition, Amani, is yesterday. Me, yesterday is my competition. So if you're competing against somebody else, you're always behind them because you're watching what they're doing and then you're trying to emulate it or try to get ahead of them like a slingshot, right? So if you just set the ground where you want to be and say, I'm going to grow every day 2 millimeter and I know exactly what direction I want to go, I'm going to just keep doing it. I don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. All I care about is that I'm growing incrementally each day, and you will pass those people because eventually they stop growing and you won't, right? So for us in business and for me in business in general, it's deep communication. You know, with our clients, I want to make sure that I truly understand what they need in their outdoor living space. What's going to bring their family the most joy and comfort. It's not about what kind of shit I can sell them, what kind of features would be really cool out there, because if they don't use those features, it's a waste. Why not take that money and put it into things they will use and that will get them out there more often and more connected? That's always the goal there. So it's understanding that deep communication is key with the client so you can get to that deep level where they're going to give you that type of information, because most are going to be all clammed up and not say a whole lot because you're the contractor or designer and
right.
They're them in two separate ships. But when you merge through deep communication, that you understand each other and think of design as a holistic lifestyle, you're going to move into another phase with them where they're going to open up like a flower and start sharing those deeper thoughts and feelings so that you can actually serve them at the highest level, where you can take each client and turn them into raving fans really simply just by following a process. It's a very simple thing to do, you know, and for us, it's all about the client experience, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody can build them a deck, pool, or patio. Anybody can do that, but we're taking them on a journey. That's the goal. We're taking them on a journey because most people haven't done this before. Most people haven't, you know, reimagined their backyard and dealt with all the different pieces that come together. We're able to take them from an idea coming together with words into a visual, from there into reality. So having that really deep understanding of them and to know that we're going after the very best, you know, client experience on the planet. That's what we're going for. And we try to find pain points within their lives. Like, what do you hate about this? Okay, how do we absorb that? How do we change that so we don't have that problem anymore? So they can just have fun. It's all supposed to be fun. Like, they just say, oh, I love that. Love this. Good. Boom, shows up. That's simple, right? So, and always making a massive impact in their lives. Like I mentioned earlier, that's always the goal. So, you know, as far as how do you stand out, that's how you do it. Just by communicating deeply, by, you know, focusing on the client's needs, their deep needs that they aren't talking about, and then bringing them to life so that you can solve those problems and make that space their favorite room of the house.
All right. I love your perspective. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Yeah, so failure is a funny topic because when I was younger, I thought failure was failure, right? I did something wrong. I'm an idiot. Shouldn't have done that. But I've come to realize now, as I'm getting older and wiser, that I absolutely love my failures. I look forward to failing. I even tell my kids, what did you fail at today?
Yeah.
They look at me kind of funny. I mean, I'm not the first one to come up with that, right? But they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, if you're not failing every day at something, you're not trying hard enough, right? So for me, failure is a learning, way to learn. So I don't see anything as negative. I only see it as something I learned from, oh, don't do that again. You do it again, twice is a failure, right? First time is learning. But I don't know that I actually have a favorite failure, to be honest with you, because I don't see failure as something that you keep in a checkbox down through, like, look at all these things I fucked up on. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what it is. It's more about, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. That didn't work. Let's try something else. But we're heading in the right direction. We just might have to bounce around a little bit.
Okay. I can appreciate the perspective. I like it. Now, you've gotten lots of acclaim, awards, you've been written up in many publications, on television. You also acquire critics, or haters as we call them. How do you handle your critics?
I just say this, watch me. It's that simple. I don't have to be out there back and forth with the haters. That's fine. I just say, sit back and watch. If you don't believe I can do it, that's fine. I believe I can do it. And that's all I need.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. You get me fired up here. You're preaching to the choir on a Friday. I love it. I'm about to ready to run through a wall for you right now. Tell us about the darkest time in your life. How did you get through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, overall, my life's been really good. So I've been very blessed with an incredible family growing up, and an incredible wife now, and incredible children. Everybody's healthy. I mean, I'm very, very blessed, and every single day I thank my God for that, or the universe for that, right? But I would say in my mid to late 30s, I went through a time where, to be honest with you, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't like myself. I was not impressed. I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror, not just physically or whatever. My confidence was low. I had a low self-esteem, all of that, and I was like, I don't know, maybe they call that a midlife crisis. I don't know. Maybe I was a little early on the shirt tails of that one, but I just didn't like myself. And what I realized was that in order for me to grow, my business to grow, all of that, it comes from within me. A business is no more than a reflection or a mirror of you. So if you're hurting inside, or if you're lost inside, your business is going to be lost. Until you figure out what's going on in here, nothing out there changes. It all starts inside. So I was, blessed to marry an incredible woman that she had gone through a lot of personal growth type stuff in her profession, in the chiropractic profession. It was always part of their learning and their seminars. Like, Tony Robbins is the extreme when it comes to those things, but this was always baked into the part of their philosophy. So I attended a lot of their events and really enjoyed them. And I always had to kind of transcribe because they use other chiropractic terms. And I would then, over to outdoor living and all that, but which was easy to do. It was simple to do. But anyway, I started realizing that, your future is totally up to you, right? So when I went through this time, this mid to late 30s time, I realized that, what, I can sit here and bitch about the world, or bitch about how this didn't work out, or these kinds of things didn't work out for me, or I can grab it by the horns, life by the horns, and say, look, I want to change it. I need to change me. And that's it. It's that simple. So that's when I started, getting into training for American Ninja Warrior. And then that put me in a position where I was now performing in front of people, which is something I've never done before, completely broke me out of my comfort zone. And then training and failing in front of them, or as I like to call, learning in front of them, right? So that was a completely different animal for me, and getting better and better. And then, all the fun stuff that came with that, and the diet stuff that came with it. As I started training more, I started feeling different things in my body. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm getting stronger. I like the way my body looks. I like the way I feel. Things are much more clear now. So there was just this amazing transformation at that point. So, it was, and it still is, working on mindset daily, because there's always stuff that wants to take you down, man. There's more gravity out there than there is lift. So, you can either turn it out or turn it off, like I like to do, and focus on what is good, focusing on all the blessings you have. Just look around at just a piece of furniture in your house and say, that's fine. I can sit on it and be comfortable. It's not a rock. It's not, just to be grateful for every little detail, including the pain, including the things, the failures that have happened. Be thankful for all of them, because that's why you are who you are right now.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue. Lead me to a quote that you said that resonates with you. You said, if you're not moving forward, then you are falling behind. Why does that resonate with you?
Again, back to the 2 millimeters, right? So I feel like, look, I got 13,000 and some days left, and every day I got to keep pushing forward. I got to keep growing forward. And, I hope I'm wrong on those numbers, really hoping I'm very wrong. So I got but if not, it's laid out that way. So I'm like, good, I can keep growing. And again, progress is so important to me personally. I think for humans in general, we like to see progress. So, having that constantly pushing forward is so important for sure.
Agreed. What would be your definition of the word resilience?
Oh, let's think. Resilience is hitting a wall 1,000 times and either going around it, over it, or through it. Resilience is never giving up. Resilience is hitting a problem over and over, figuring it out and crushing it. That's resilience. Not giving up and saying, fuck it, I can't do it. No one else has figured it out. You make it your mission to figure it out and get around it, over it, or through it. That's resilience, just not giving up.
Excellent definition. Who was the most influential person for you growing up?
Hands down, my parents. My parents, they taught me everything I knew about hard work, discipline, sticking to your word. We lived in rural Pennsylvania, and I was in the garden center ever since, again, 5 years old. So they taught me everything I knew back then about selling, about how to create value, how to help people. It's how incredible they are that it's the reason why I am where I am now, and they have just been such incredible role models, and they're always there for you. They're willing to give you their right arm even if they only had their left. What I mean? They would do anything growing up with us to make sure that we had a better life than they did growing up. And it didn't matter what it was. It happened. It's not that we were spoiled in any way, shape, or form, but they spent time. We would go on vacations. They taught me so much about life. So it's, definitely my parents.
Excellent. What do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
For me, it is committing.
Mm.
Committing to something. And now, again, I don't commit to everything. So it's no, because you can't commit to everything, right?
Right.
But when you commit to something, you're going all in, and that's what it is. There's no off ramp. It's all in, right? It might not happen on your timeline, but you know damn well it's going to happen. And I see a lot of friends who try to commit to things, and they put a lot of shoulds into their lives, and they end up shooting all over themselves, right?
I love that saying.
You do, right? But it's just switching that should to a must, and having less of them, and just making those things absolutely necessary to accomplish. That's one thing that I see people struggle with. And I know that in their time, they will find the why big enough to push them through any storm, that they'll stick with those things. But I often see them falling off. They set a goal and they don't accomplish it because they just have a hard time committing, and the discipline to commit to themselves and to be truthful to themselves, like I mentioned earlier, to keep those commitments to themselves personally. That's the hardest thing, because it's easiest to lie to ourselves. Nobody hears the rhetoric going on in our minds. We all have this back and forth, right? But to be able to calm down one of them, or at least notice it and witness it, and understand that it's not you. It's just the same sound that everybody hears in their head. They have since the beginning of time. Your problems are not your problems. Your problems everybody else faces too. So you don't own that shit. Let it go. Other people are dealing with it. They probably fixed it. So listen to them, so you can get out of this and not waste your 20-some thousand days trying to figure shit out.
Right. Yeah. What would you like to be better at?
Believe it or not, I want to be better at communicating so I can help more people, right? Through social media, or through, my goal this year was to be on, to stand up and do presentations in front of groups of 5 groups this year. And I was too deep, and then COVID came along, and I'm like, I don't know if there's ever going to be an audience big enough to stand in front of anymore. So, now it's polishing how I speak to people on social media and these kinds of things, so that they can truly get value from what I say in order to help them grow in their lives. And again, cut that learning curve. So it's not 5 years to learn it. They can learn it in 20 minutes. That's really it there.
What are some skill sets that some of the speakers that you admire have that you're trying to acquire?
Oh, that's a good one. So I have to say my absolute favorite speaker has to be Tony Robbins. The way he can move 13,000 people in a stadium to the lowest emotional state they've ever been in to the highest in minutes. It's an incredible, incredible feat that he's achieved there. And it breaks my heart right now that he can't continue his live events right now. It breaks my heart, because all the people that could be served, and he's still doing other things, but it's all the people he could be serving right now that need him, especially now. Yeah. Right. And it's going to be what it is. But I would say, Tony Robbins, in a way that he can move a crowd and the way he can get to your soul.
Nice. When you were 21, where were you living when you were 21? Still in the Poconos?
21, believe it or not, I was still living at home. Okay. Around the time it was actually a little bit later I met my wife. So I was still living at home at that point, and working in the garden center, running a business, and working at nights for another business, a restaurant too. So that's where I was then. We're
going to go and talk to 21-year-old Josh, and we're going to ask him to we're going to ask you to give your 21-year-old self advice based on what you know now. What advice would you give your younger self?
Man, I wish I could back it up and do it, but I tell you, I wouldn't give up 1 second because everything that happened has brought me here. So, but anyway, if I could go back, I'd say, look, follow your heart, no matter what. Instead of trying to figure out all the details and get everything in line first, I'm one of those guys that wants, like as a designer, I want everything in order so that I can make a move. I've learned on my journey here since my mid-30s and breaking through the I hate myself in the mirror thing to I love myself now, right? To just understand that it's okay to ready, fire, aim. You don't have to figure it all out. You just need to start. You need to know you've got a strong enough why and have enough confidence to know you're going to blow through any wall that comes in front of you and start. Ready, fire, aim. Another big piece to that is I used to be, well, pretty much controlled by what other people think. What they think of me, what they'll think if I fail. What happens if I, become stand on a stage and fail? What happens if I put a design out that somebody hates? What happens if I make an ass out of myself? What are others going to think? And that paralyzed me for many years. And I realized that through different experiences, right? So I've done a lot of like retreats and stuff like that through experiences. And one was like a 30-foot long firewalk. So, and it was in Southern California. I'll never forget it. And we had to say one thing on one side that we wanted to give up or evict from our world. And on the other side, we walk into our new selves without that limitation. And the limitation I left behind is giving a fuck what other people think. It's that simple. And ever since that event, it hasn't been overnight. It just didn't click like that. But it's becoming more and more part of who I am. And not in a way like I'm better than you, none of that crap. This is about just not caring if others do or don't like your decisions, because it's not their decision to have. It's yours. It's your life, right? So being able to know that other people's opinions don't really matter a whole lot.
Yeah.
And everybody has them, and it doesn't mean you actually have to listen to them.
No.
Yeah.
When you meet people that are struggling with worrying about what other people think, what advice do you give them to help them get over that?
Well, that's a tough one. Sometimes I come in like a bulldozer because I see the light, right? So I'm like, dude, just don't listen to them. What the hell? But I'm not where they are in their journey. If somebody would have told me that at 21 years old, I'd have been like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's easy for you to say.
Right.
But I mean, I guess the only advice I'd be able to give someone is just think about how much you actually consciously keep track of what others are doing. Think about it. Like you might notice things on Facebook, whatever, like what your kids are doing or your family's doing, whatever, but it's in and out fast. As the person doing it, you think everybody is watching you with a microscope, like they've got nothing better to do than just look at you and judge you. And the fact of the matter is, most people don't have enough time to figure out if they brush their teeth or not in a day. You know what I mean? Let's think about it. So this idea that we're captive to what others are thinking is such a load of bullshit, but still we're controlled because we're socially programmed in the TV shows we watch and the books we read, like all that stuff. Being accepted by the tribe, it's so important, but it's not on your terms. You have to become something to be liked by them. And as soon as you do that, you've given up all of your power. You've given up all of who you are because you feel like you've got to mold into this thing that others will like. And if you just stand in your damn box and just talk and speak your mind in a very nice way, of course, the right people are going to come to you, not just people with a heartbeat, but the right people are going to start surrounding themselves, just like a fire. You know, when it's warm, people start coming to it. And that's, I guess, the best advice I'd be able to give for that.
That's excellent advice. Well said. What is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
Oh, goodness. I have to say that vulnerability is the ultimate strength. That's why I love my brother, Dwayne, because he is a guy that can just let it out. And yes, I respect that man for the fact that he can do that. And, you know, he's taught me, I've known this, but he's taught me at a deeper level that the fact that you can be completely vulnerable and be so fucking strong inside of you because you have nothing to hide. You know, so many people walk around each day with things in their minds. They're afraid somebody's going to find them out, that somehow they're going to be figured out, like, oh my God, I'm not the best this, or I'm not the best that, or I'm just making shit up every day and it just seems to work, right? They're going to be found out. But when they realize that they can talk about it and say, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, but here's my best shot at it. All of a sudden, the whole world opens up to help you. That's the beauty of it all, not having all the answers, but understanding that you have a team surrounding you, a world surrounding you that can help you through these things. So being vulnerable, especially as a man, I'm sure you can relate to this, right? Being a man, have all the answers. You got to be the strongest one. You always got to stand. We don't cry. I cry almost every day, and I fucking love it. All this gratitude. I mean, every day I think about my children and my wife and my parents and everybody around me, and it brings me to tears in the most incredible way possible. It grounds me every day in how grateful I am for what is around me. And it's not because I created it, it's because the universe created it around me. And I have to be grateful for that. And not have to be. I am grateful for that because I choose to be. But knowing that vulnerability and the fact that I sing and wake the house up, and I'm a horrible singer, right? But it's my soul on fire. And the reason why I do it is because that's what's coming out of me right now. And if somebody wants to say, my kids used to joke with me about it, and they're like, "Oh, Papa's going to go down and start yelling again," right? But that's okay. But at the end of the day, when I'm doing it, I'm thinking of them, thinking, what kind of example am I leading for them? That no one else does this. Your old man's crazy. He's doing this stuff. But one day they're going to wake up and be like, you know what? I know why he did it all. I've got to be that model for them. I can't be like everybody else. I have to be somewhat different, right? I think, as far as the lessons to learn, vulnerability is the ultimate strength. Be you. Just be you. People have told me that my whole life, and I didn't understand it until the last few years of just saying, you know what? I'm just going to be me. And if you don't like it, there's the door.
Amen. Yes. Yes. Every great person has a sentence. What is your sentence? For example, my sentence is, I love to help people unlock their creativity by teaching them how to DJ. What is your sentence?
It's 3 words, Amani. It's truth over consequence. That's my mantra. So when it comes to business, when it comes to personal, all of that stuff. And that's not an easy one to achieve. Let me tell you right now, because it's so much easier to just add a little fluff here or fluff it over there. But in that mentality, truth over consequence, you're willing to get the truth no matter what, even if it costs you money, time, or friendships, love, whatever it might be. But the truth will always set you free. Always.
Yeah.
So that's my sentence, is truth over consequence.
Absolutely. What is one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that has been most beneficial?
Let's see. The number one thing would be running. To be honest with you, I used to train. Again, I still do train with Ninja and all that stuff. But I needed something that each day I could get my heart rate up, get the blood flowing, get the toxins flowing out, like all of that stuff. And for some reason, running worked. And I've been, for the last roughly 6 months, I've been running 5 days a week.
Wow.
On average. And, I just calculated it the other day, and I'm like at 205 miles. And I'm like, this is coming from a guy that doesn't like to run.
That's
and
great.
then one Monday morning I got up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start running and see how far I can go. And then half marathon later, I walked into my door and I'm like, I just ran a half fucking marathon. And I did it in 8-minute miles. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But I just, again, governor kicked in. Fuck you, dude. You're not in charge here. I'm going to run until I'm done. And I said, I'm going to run now. 13 is what I kind of grew as I went. I said, 13.2 is where I got to go. 13.1, let's do this. And they told me to stop and walk. And I told everything to go fuck off because we're going for this thing.
I love it.
So running is what keeps me focused. Because I heard this one time and I didn't realize how stupid simple this was. But the best antidepressant on earth is exercise. Right? And when I read that, I'm like, you know what? This is after I was running and all the other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? That is so true. It's free for everybody, but it's not the easy path. You can't watch Netflix, and technically, I guess you could. But if you want to get outside, you can't be doing one thing and expect a different goal. So that's one thing to do is, and if you do decide to run, do it without earbuds. Don't do it with any entertainment. I used to run with earbuds, but I wasn't focused on the running at that point. I was focused on being entertained. The second I took them out, it became a different game. Okay. And I mean, Goggins talks about this in Can't Hurt Me. He said that's where actually I got it from. I was like, you know what? Or one of his podcasts or whatever. He's like, I don't run with earbuds. And I'm like, I wonder what that would be like.
Yeah. Me neither. That's interesting. I just run with my dog and no earbuds, whatever. Yeah.
None. You're in your mind, man. You got to be in there and you've got to be good with it because you're going to have a lot of good conversation.
Yes, yes, you will. Why do you feel people choose the easy route so much more frequently than the hard route?
I think because most people choose comfort over pain. I think that we've been programmed that comfort is the ultimate luxury, and that if we can avoid pain in any way, shape, or form, that we can avoid pain. Let's put it that way, right? So if comfort is an option, let's do it. And if, food you can get out of a box that never actually saw the ground and you can eat it, it's comfort food. You eat it, no big deal. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, right? But if that's what it is and you just eat this stuff all the time and then all of a sudden your body starts changing and you don't exercise and you don't move, then pretty soon you get to a point where you don't think it's possible, right? So we are wired for our 30 million, whatever year old brain, whatever you believe, right? That we avoid conflict, that we avoid pain in any way, shape, or form. So as technology changes, our lives become more comfortable. So it's inevitable that we're going to end up on that side. But to the people out there who are willing to push themselves and willing to become comfortable being uncomfortable, that's where the growth is at. You get away from that stagnation or that plateau of comfort. And that's why I take cold showers and run. I hate both of them. Every day I jump in that shower. It's as cold as it gets. It's 55 degrees. And I jump in there and I was like, why do I do this? And every day I say, because I can.
Yeah.
Because I must keep my mind. I must be in control of what's happening. It's just something that needs to be done. That's it. No discussion.
We are really big readers here on the Amani Experience podcast. If you were to pick 1, 2, or 3 books you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them immediately, what books come to mind?
I know Dwayne recommended this one, The Big Five for Life. Right? It's an incredible book. It's a very powerful, simple book. It's nothing crazy. It's a simple read, but it's a great story. It really was something that profoundly impacted my life. So The Big Five for Life. Any of, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Again, he's an animal, but he's got a good heart, and it's incredible what he's done. Anybody who likes to do physical activity, reading that book will put you to a different level. Atlas Shrugged from Ayn Rand.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. And my wife actually introduced me to that book when we first met. And it was like 43 CDs long back when that's the way you listen to Audible book.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not going to spend like 3 years reading this thing. Right. So I listened to it. But again, they made a movie and they really chopped it up. But
right. Yeah.
Chance to read or listen to that. That's a very powerful, powerful book. And one last one would be Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Right. Just the concepts are so simple. I've integrated so much of that into my business, into my life. And it's so powerful and it's so simple. Yeah. So, and to be quite honest with you, Amani, if any of your listeners, if they want a copy of this, I will ship them one for free of any of those books just to get them started on their journey.
All right,
so appreciate if they reach out to me in any way that they can through whatever social media or you get in contact with me, I'll send them a free copy. I'll drop it right in their mailbox. So they can start their journey.
Dwayne stopped by and he says he is in. I love it. Yes, Dwayne. Thank you for the intro to this.
You're the reason why I'm here. I love you.
Yes, brother. And I'm so appreciative. What's been the best advice that you've ever received?
Well, that's a good question, or good question. Best advice. I think it would be just believe in yourself, because everything you need is inside. It's not an outside game, and it's an inside game. And if we search our whole lives for someone or something that's going to help turn it all on, you're missing the point. It's already in you. It's part of you. It's all you have to do is realize it. There's so much power in each and every one of you watching and out there in this world that you can take control of your life and guide it in a direction that you want to go, understanding where your end goals are and heading that direction. You can do anything as long as you believe in yourself. So understanding that all you need out there is already inside, and to never stop learning. Every day you need to learn something new, and it can be something that interests you, of course. It's not something that has to be painful or crazy. It's something that interests you, and just to keep pushing that envelope forward. But everything you have or everything you need is within you already.
Yeah. Let's see here. We're going to paint a picture for you. You have a favorite sports team?
I really don't watch sports.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's say you're coming back to California, and we're going to go to the Staples Center, and they say Josh Gillow is coming to the stage. What song is playing as you're walking out on the stage to make one of the speeches that, what's one of your goals, to speak in front of people? So what's the song that's going to, your walk-up song?
I wish I had the name of it. I can share it with you. It's this clip it's the one that I dance to every morning. I visualize myself walking out on the stage with that at high volume, just cranking it and just bringing people to their highest peak state, and then going to be able to get them fired up and going.
Okay.
but man, it's something like Ignite Me or something like that. But it's a
Yeah.
small clip that's been sped up, and it's a much better track than the original. So
Send it to me and we'll add it into the podcast episode for sure. I love that.
well, yeah.
Awesome. So before I ask you a final question, tell people the best ways to reach you. Where do you live on social media? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so your best way to reach out to me would be through, Facebook. You can message me there. You can find me, Joshua Gillow, on Facebook. Right now, my profile picture is me with a funny wooden tie. So again, I don't know how long it will last, but whatever. Instagram I am at the Design Ninja. That is me there. You can take a look out. You can go to my website and you can reach me through that way as well, through MasterPLAN. So it's mymasterplan.com, and that'll reach the office, but you can get to me that way as well.
All right, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I love your perspective on life, where you talk about mindset, commitment, and the shoulds, and turning those into musts. I just love it. And I'm so happy that Dwayne introduced us, because it's been a pleasure talking to you. Hope to keep in touch as well.
Absolutely.
If you're ever in Southern California, let me know. We can meet up in person. But just really happy. Just what you shared today is just very timely. So thank you. We let our guests leave us with any last minute words of wisdom or advice. So I'll say thanks again and allow you to take us home.
Okay. Like I've mentioned a few times, everybody, believe in yourself, trust yourself. Even if it doesn't make sense at this point and you can't see a way out, it's always going to work out. Always believe it's going to work out. The pain that you're in now, or what you're struggling with, it will all go away. All storms run out of rain, all of them. So just stick to it. Follow your heart. Follow what is deep inside of you. Trust it, because it's there to serve you. And don't look at things as failures. Look at them as opportunities to learn, because we all grow and become what we've done in the past. All those failures and successes stack on top of each other, and they're like a staircase heading in the right direction. So don't ever look at it as a bad thing that happens. It's always good. It's always for you. Life is happening for you, not to you. Yes. Another Tony quote right there, baby. Right?
There you go.
That man is a good man. So the point is that it's all happening for you, not to you. So just embrace it. See it for the positivity, for the ability to help push you 2 millimeters further. And yeah, that's how I'll wrap it up. Amani.
Thank you. Roxanne, you had a question. I will list the books you mentioned on here. Definitely. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, and don't forget to reach out if you want those books. I'd be more than happy to send them to you.
Absolutely. And I'll let you know how to reach them. Cool.